represents the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at WION.com.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Race to Power. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and on the show today we'll be taking a look at the high drama that unfolded for 6 long hours between the Presidential Security Services and the investigators from the South Korean Anti-Corruption Agency, who are trying to arrest the now impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol, sparking concerns that South Korea potentially could be hurtling towards an impending civil war. But the bigger question at this moment is this: how can an impeached president who faces charges of rebellion govern a nation? In Great Britain, Keir Starmer's New Year has begun on a rather bumpy note. 20 councillors from Nottinghamshire have quit, accusing the Labour Party of having abandoned its traditional Labour values. While Elon Musk, interestingly, is now openly backing Nigel Farage as and when elections happen in the United Kingdom. But first, let's of course take a look as to what is happening in South Korea. So this of course is the question: is there a political civil war-like situation in South Korea? The developments in the last 24 hours have given rise to this question. South Korea's authorities were in a 6-hour-long standoff with the presidential security guards who prevented the arrest of the now suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol. The investigators have called off their attempt to arrest the impeached president, citing security concerns. The Corruption Investigation Office said in a statement that the execution of the warrant was effectively impossible due to the ongoing standoff, as concerns for the safety of the personnel on site led to the decision to halt the arrest. Now, earlier, the officials were led through a heavy security barricades to enter into the residence to execute the warrant, but the soldiers under the Presidential Security Service engaged in a confrontation with them. Now, previously, WION's security service had blocked any attempts by the police to enter into the presidential office. The Monday is, of course, the deadline for the warrant to be executed. The investigators have sought the warrant after the impeached president ignored 3 rounds of summons for questioning. Now, WION's legal team has called the attempt to execute the arrest warrant as illegal and invalid. Now, during the arrest attempt, dozens of police buses and hundreds of uniformed police lined the streets outside of the presidential compound in central Seoul. And about 2,700 police and 135 police buses were deployed in the area to prevent clashes, after WION's supporters faced off with anti-WION demonstrators on Thursday. Now, some of his supporters camped outside of his compound in the bitter cold, holding all-night prayer sessions. Meanwhile, prosecutors on Friday indicted 2 top military officials, the Army Chief of Staff General Park An-soo and the Chief of the Army Special Warfare Command Lieutenant General Kwok Jong-kyun, over their alleged roles in the short-lived imposition of martial law last month. And according to the prosecution, they were indicted under detention on charges of insurrection and abuse of power. Now, several other North Korean officials have also either stepped down or faced the axe in the fallout of the failed martial law bid. The list includes Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun, the Interior Minister Lee Song-min, the Inspector General of the Ministry of Justice Ryu Hyuk, the Police Chief Cho Ji-ho, and the Metropolitan Police Chief Kim Bong-sik, amongst others. All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of what is happening at this moment in South Korea, we're joined by Ms. Soo-young-oh, who is a senior journalist. She's joining us live on this broadcast from Seoul. Now, Ms. Soo-young-oh, thank you very much indeed, ma'am, for taking time out and speaking to us on the conditions at this moment in South Korean politics. Now, given the developments that have happened just the last 24 hours in the nation, where the police got into a tussle with the presidential security guards, who prevented the arrest of the suspended president and also WION's team that is fighting the legal battle in the court. Now, what kind of legal alternatives or legal options does Yoon Suk-yeol have at the moment at his disposal?
Well, first of all, it's important to understand that there are two things going on here that President Yoon's legal team have to deal with. First of all, there's the criminal investigations into suspected insurrection. That's all the fuss that we saw happening near his residence today, as investigative bodies have been closing in on him and other figures who have been implicated in the martial law order. The second thing going on is the Constitutional Court's impeachment trial. That's because the National Assembly last month on December 14th, they voted to impeach the president. And after that, the case was handed to the Constitutional Court, which has 180 days to decide whether to uphold the impeachment. So there are 2 things going on right now. And it would be much easier if the impeachment case was, of course, going on first, but because then it will be pretty clear, it would be quite conclusive, really, that if the Constitutional Court had found that the president had his actions had been unconstitutional, therefore removed from office, then he wouldn't be a sitting president. So the investigative authorities then would be able to arrest him, but that's not the case. We have a simultaneous we're seeing simultaneous proceedings here. So what are the options for President Yoon's legal team at the Constitutional Court? Well, obviously, they're going to make their case that his actions weren't unconstitutional. So their argument is that it was his executive right, his constitutional right to declare martial law.
Right.
The president does, the Korean constitution does have the that article where the president, in fact, does have the authority to declare martial law. But another question is whether he had actually run the decision through the cabinet. And that's where the question mark lies. Cabinet members have said they did not sign the document regarding any martial law decree being imposed. That includes former acting president and Prime Minister Han Duck-soo and various other members of the cabinet. So, when it comes to whether the president's actions were constitutional, there could be some dispute there. And well, at the end of the process, if he is impeached, then his right now his presidential powers have been suspended. So he's not allowed to have any secretaries reporting to him. He can't make decisions or appointments. He can't, exercise diplomacy, things like that. All he has now is basically his title of being president. He can use some of the logistics. He can use the presidential plane, and he can have his vehicles and things like that. But of course, all of those would be stripped once he is impeached, and then he might be subject to more intensive investigations.
All right, now that was the legal aspect of what's been happening in the case, but a lot of people are saying, looking at the standoff that took place at the presidential palace, that South Korea potentially could be headed towards a civil war. Now, what's your assessment of that?
Right, well, South Koreans, I think South Korea as a nation has a knack for making opportunity out of crisis. And I certainly hope that this case is one of them. I think that it's a great opportunity to be able to find a sense of newness in politics, because we need to split this prior to and after the martial law decree, I think. Prior to the martial law decree, there was a huge standoff in the National Assembly between the Conservative Party and the Liberal Party, the Conservative of course, being President Yoon's ruling party. And because the ruling party was in the minority, the opposition was basically blocking every single reform or critical bill related to people's livelihoods that the ruling party was trying to pass through Parliament. And they introduced motions to impeach scores of officials within the administration. And this was blocking basically the administration from getting anything done in terms of state governance. So some see that this was an impossible political situation. And while it obviously was a very wrong move for President Yoon to make, that's basically the kind of explanation that he's been giving all this time, that because of this dire situation where the National Assembly was basically paralyzed due to this partisan standoff, he felt like he had to do something. Obviously, that was the wrong decision, but here we are. And while we're grappling with this vacuum basically a vacuum of presidency, we have an acting president, of course, but as the nation deals with this political uncertainty, we've seen this political standoff continue between the opposition and ruling parties, and it's very unfortunate for the nation, as we're not seeing these politicians trying to put their heads together for the sake of the nation, to rebuild the nation. We're seeing them at each other's throats once again. And as you may know, we recently had a very unfortunate tragedy at WION Airport, where a Jeju Air plane carrying over 179 passengers, it saw this terrible tragedy, and we're continuing to see lawmakers basically at each other's throats. And hopefully when we call a new snap election sometime next year, hopefully we'll see younger, much more, rational politicians emerge, those who aren't, necessarily those who aren't just faithful to their party, and but those who think on behalf of the nation and actually introduce more laws and introduce more, reforms to take the nation forward.
Mr. Yungyo, thank you very much indeed for joining us and getting us that very detailed analysis of what is happening at this moment in South Korea. Let's now shift our attention to the other story that we are tracking on Race to Power, where Nick Clegg, the former British Deputy Prime Minister and Meta's Global Affairs President, has announced his exit from the tech giant after 6 years. He posted a heartfelt message on X, calling his journey with Meta the adventure of a lifetime. Now, Clegg, in fact, reflected on his journey by praising his colleagues and also thanking Meta's founder Mark Zuckerberg and former CEO Sheryl Sandberg for the opportunity. Now, Clegg, who joined Meta in 2018, had played a key role in addressing the Cambridge Analytica scandal. Now, the scandal involved charges against the British consulting firm Cambridge Analytica of collecting data of around 50 million Facebook profiles without user consent. Now, Clegg also led initiatives like the Facebook Oversight Board to ensure transparency and accountability. Now, the Republican Joel Kaplan has replaced Clegg as the next Meta global policy head. The Kaplan served as the White House's Deputy Chief of Staff under President George W. Bush, who was the 43rd American president. Now, Kaplan has always been on friendly terms with Donald Trump during Trump's first presidency. The administration considered nominating Kaplan as the head of the Office of Management and Budget. And political analysts have said that Kaplan's appointment is in fact an effort by Meta to improve its relationship with Donald Trump. Now, Kaplan is not the first Republican to hold a crucial position in Meta. Kevin Martin, a former chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, and most recently, Meta's vice president for U.S. public policy, will take over Kaplan's role as the global vice president. Now, Nick Clegg has expressed confidence in Kaplan's ability to steer Meta through the evolving digital landscape. Significantly, Clegg's exit comes just weeks before Donald Trump begins his second term as the American president, indicating another big tech company's efforts to get into the good books of Trump after his electoral victory. The Meta boss, Mark Zuckerberg, recently visited Donald Trump at his resort in Mar-a-Lago. Although it is not known as to what the two discussed, it is claimed that the visit was Zuckerberg's way of making peace with Trump. And not just Zuckerberg, other big tech leaders have also made overtures towards Trump. And Apple's Tim Cook and OpenAI's Sam Altman are just a couple of them. And our correspondent Susan Terani has been tracking the story very closely for us and has sent us this report. Let's listen in.
Nick Clegg, the former British Deputy Prime Minister, is stepping down as President of Meta's Global Affairs after 7 years. He joined Meta back in 2018 when Meta was dealing with the Cambridge Analytica scandal. He was there making key policy decisions all through the U.S. presidential election in 2020 as well. Clegg saw the need in bridging the gap between tech and politics. He's being replaced by Joel Kaplan, a Republican stalwart and former Deputy Chief of Staff for President George W. Bush. He will replace him. Now, the appointment comes as Donald Trump is expected to take the helm at the White House as U.S. president, potentially signaling Meta's desire to work closely with the president-elect. Clegg will remain at Meta for a smooth transition for some months before making the change. Susan Tarkmani reporting from New York for WION World this one.
Now, the year that has just begun is bringing more trouble, it appears, for the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. The 20 Labour councillors have quit the party. The lawmakers are all from the county of Nottinghamshire. The reason, well, the councillors feel that the Labour Party has abandoned what they are describing as traditional Labour values under the leadership of Keir Starmer. Now, some leaders have spent more than 4 decades with Labour before their defection, and the move has cost the ruling party its overall control of the Broxtown Borough Council. Now, the outgoing party members are part of the Labour circle that has been critical of Starmer's decision to cut winter fuel allowance for old Britons, among other party decisions. And as per the former Labour councillors, there are over 100 lower-level party members from the county who have also quit. Now, this is just one of the many issues that are piling up for Keir Starmer, the Labour leader who has been in power for barely 6 months now, has been at the receiving end of severe criticism from none other than Donald Trump's close ally Elon Musk, who is an American citizen. Now, what is interesting is that the billionaire American tycoon, who also has a key role in Donald Trump's upcoming administration, has called for fresh elections in the United Kingdom. Now, Musk has batted for the right-wing party, the Reform UK Party, saying that only Nigel Farage's party can save the United Kingdom. Just hours ago, the billionaire mounted another attack on Keir Starmer, making scathing allegations against the Labour leader. Now, the Prime Minister has been accused of inaction against gang rape and also grooming criminals during his time as the Director of Public Prosecutions. Now, the SpaceX and Tesla owner in his tweet has slammed Keir Starmer for being complicit in the crimes for over 6 years. So as more pressure and criticism mounts against the Prime Minister, there's another challenge that also awaits him on Monday. The lawmakers will be debating on an e-petition calling for a new general election. The Petitions Committee has agreed to the debate after the online petition garnered almost about 3 million signatures from Britons. So this, of course, is the situation at this moment politically in Britain, where Keir Starmer appears to be in all kinds of problems. 20 councillors from Nottinghamshire have quit, stating that the Labour Party has abandoned its traditional Labour values. And not just this, there seems to be a lot of discontent that has been exhibited by people within Britain. And compounding this are some of the statements that have been made by Elon Musk, a close aide of Donald Trump, who will take charge at the White House on the 20th of this month. The United Kingdom and the United States, remember, are very close allies. But the fact that Elon Musk is calling for fresh elections and is openly backing Nigel Farage as and when those elections would be held is something that has sparked a lot of debate within, one would assume, in the United Kingdom. So these are some of the issues. The new year 2025 has come about. Keir Starmer, who's been in power for less than 6 months, has barely had any kind of a honeymoon period. He's had to hit the ground running, but it's been a very bumpy sort of a hit. And it's been running where a lot of people within Keir Starmer's party have been asking questions of their Prime Minister about his leadership. Now, the new year appears to be bringing more trouble for Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and this time it concerns his party's popularity ratings amidst the Canadians. The latest poll reveals a declining popularity for the incumbent leader as his political rival and Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre enjoys growing popularity. And as per the numbers, just about 17.4% of the Canadians prefer Trudeau as the Prime Minister, while 40% favour Poilievre instead. The 13.9% also favour NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, who recently pulled support from Trudeau's coalition government. When it comes to the country's issues that voters consider critical, about 16.3% of them voted for jobs, while 11% called healthcare to be a problem that needs urgent reforms and attention. The immigration also came up as a critical issue for just about 7.4% of the people in Canada. And interestingly, when the Canadians were asked if they want to change the government, only about 1.5% of them voted in favour of it. But only 1% said that changing the Prime Minister at this moment is an important issue. Now, Canada is slated to conduct elections by October this year. The upcoming polls will be a high-stakes battle for Justin Trudeau after a slew of setbacks last year, with his Deputy Prime Minister resigning over differences and the NDP withdrawing support. Now, Trudeau also faces growing criticism within his own party, with many lawmakers asking the incumbent to step down. All right, let's also take a quick look as to what is making headlines in the world of politics. Now, ahead of the Delhi Assembly elections, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated as many as 1,675 flats for residents of slum clusters in 2 major urban development projects in the national capital. Now, during the event, Modi in fact took a jibe at the Aam Aadmi Party convener Arvind Kejriwal. Now, Modi accused the Aam Aadmi Party leadership of causing a crisis in Delhi and asserted that corruption and poor management have defined his governance. Now, France's newly formed government is under Prime Minister Francois Bayrou held its first cabinet meeting at the Élysée Palace today. Bayrou presided over a breakfast meeting prior to the cabinet meeting at the Interior Ministry across the street from the Élysée Palace. Now, Bayrou was appointed France's Prime Minister last month after the fall of Michel Barnier's government in the ensuing political crisis. Now, Austria's three-way coalition talks to form a new government have failed, with the head of the Liberal Party announcing its withdrawal from the negotiations. The new party's unexpected actions have cast serious doubt on the process of electing the next government. Now, the far-right Freedom Party, FPOE, topped the 29th of September's national polls for the first time ever, winning about 28.8% of the vote. And with that's a wrap on this edition of Race to Power. Thanks for watching.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation. Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
Know more? Understand better? Think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
Well, thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION World is One. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and let's start this broadcast by taking a quick look as to what is making headlines at this hour. The foreign ministers of France, Jean-Noël Barrot, and Germany's Annalena Baerbock meet with Syria's new ruler, Ahmed al-Shara, at the presidential palace in Damascus, marking the highest level visit by a major Western powers since the new Islamist regime seized power in Damascus last month. But the Israeli military has said that 2 projectiles fired from the northern Gaza Strip that crossed into